Welcome to the broadcast, my fruits. Since the last broadcast, my comment section was inundated with messages and questions asking me if I had any insight into the state of the Harkles' marriage, because various rumours have been circulating online, or so you tell me. I am not one for Twitter. I don't use Twitter or forums, this, that and the third. So this was news to me. It was news to me. But apparently for those of you on the Twitter sphere, this was all going on. Rumours of a separation, an impending separation of sorts between the Harkles. And it was news to me, as I told you. But you asked for any insight that I could provide. And so I went about putting the feelers out. Now, most of the contacts that I have, the humble contacts in my life, as you know, are a mixture of those within aristocracy, those in society, and the simple commoners in the everyday fields of creativity, media, fashion. You know, this, that, and the seventh. And most of those contacts are on this side of the Atlantic, there being not much in the way of aristocracy on the other side of the pond. So you've got to bear that in mind. I am going to address this subject a bit later on in the video because we have some nice news to discuss first. I am going to go there and tell you my findings, but I'm just letting you know this at the start of the video because there are those of you that tend to shoot the messenger, and there are those that, when they don't like what they hear, even though that is my findings, my truth, they want to disparage the messenger. So I can only offer you what I am able to provide from the whisperers that I'm acquainted with. But we will go there. We will go there. But for my fruits who aren't just here for that type of drama, I want to begin because I've been absolutely over the top with excitement about the return of the Prince and Princess of Wales, because they've been out of action for a while, haven't they? Not appearing in public together because the kiddies have been on their hogs. And so it's just so reassuring and lovely to have them back in the fold, out there doing sterling work for us. And she couldn't have chosen a better choice of wardrobe as she appeared in camel. And wasn't it an absolute tonic for the soul and for the spirit to see her in this elegant finery? And yes, I'm jealous because I can't carry off camel. Or if I can, I haven't found the particular shade of camel that really becomes me. Oatmeal I can do. Oatmeal I can do. White looks great on me. Various nudes. I found a jacket the other day that was almost black but with purple undertones, almost an aubergine, eggplant affair, but not that blatant, just very slight in the velvety undertones of it. And that made a wonderful nude for me. But camel, I don't get on that great with, but wasn't she exquisite in it? Absolutely exquisite, so chic. This was in Scarborough. Scarborough, are you going to Scarborough Fair, my dears? Well, Catherine did, along with Big Willie. The Prince was there too, of course. It was a visit to launch funding to support young people's mental health in a collaboration spearheaded by the Royal Foundation. By the way, the handbag that you see on the Princess is by De Melier, London. And you can see this woven belt there, this waist belt. It was only 60 quid by Bowden. And it tickled me, because Bowden is a British brand. It's not one that I notice often. It's actually one that I'll go to sometimes when I'm desperate for some accessory for a Christmas gift or some such for a female relative. You think, pop into Bowden. I always pop in there and I never see anything I want, even though some of it, I might think is desirable. Odds and ends. But it tickled me because I read that it's apparently huge in the States. It's become something of an iconic brand in the States, Bowden. You'd never really think of it here. It started out as a catalogue for menswear, I think, for men back in the day. And it's one of those sort of middle-class brands, really, that goes under the radar a lot. But it's nice to know that a British brand, well, I don't know whose hands it's in now, but originally a British brand, is acquiring a good following overseas. And of course, Catherine's on the pulse of it. There she is in her Bowden belt. William wore a burgundy jumper under his jacket. A lovely jacket there. Burgundy jumper and a blue shirt. And they were on jolly form. And it's life-affirming, isn't it? Life-affirming to see. It gives one a sense of optimism, you know, in these troubled times. Along with the tangible benefits of the royal family and the funding that they've delivered to this enterprise in Scarborough. This week, along with that, is the intangible. You know what makes the mundane so magical, and it's just seeing them there, isn't there, that gives everyone that sense of optimism and, oh, there's some goodness in the world, and there's some people out there working to do good, which is exhilarating. £345,000 worth of funding was announced in a collaboration between the Royal Foundation and also the local community foundation called Two Ridings. And this leaves a lasting legacy of support for young people's mental health care. And you're going to be seeing this new style of walkabout, if you like, royal walkabout, emerging more and more for the Prince and Princess of Wales. It's been made very clear they want to approach their new roles in a distinct fashion with this new type of model, a community impact day, each focused on one of the Royal Foundation's specific areas of interest, be that conservation, early childhood, emergency responders, and COVID-19, that kind of thing. It'll be focused, and you'll be seeing more of these collaborations between local communities and the Royal Foundation so that there's a tangible sense of legacy left. Traditionally, the royal visits known as away days, where you'll see Catherine and William in the past, as they were as Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, sort of sweep in to a town or a village, and you'll see them unveiling plaques and cutting the ribbons and meeting all the locals. Well, that'll still be going on, but there's a feeling that as Prince and Princess of Wales, people and the media will benefit from seeing a real bang for their buck, focusing in on their legacy projects and issues. So you'll see the traditional away days, but with a new mixture of these community impact days, which is the new model. And I think it's a marvellous idea to see this strategy. But of course, any formulaic strategy like this would never work if it weren't for the genuine, authentic, and spontaneous interactions between the Prince and Princess and their adoring crowds. You can't fake that kind of connection. You can't fake that sort of warmth. Take note, Meghan and Harry. I know it's vulgar to compare the two, and I'm not saying that there aren't times when you see genuine warmth, especially coming from Harry, I've got to say, with his interactions with crowds. But when it comes to Rachel, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. And one of the reasons I don't buy it, apart from my own instinct, is that the fact that she's confirmed it herself, in her own words, that, you know, I did my best to put on an act, to put on a front, to go out there and deliver to the crowds in the Commonwealth. Well, there was no reason to act, my love. If the goodwill came and emanated from your heart, then you could just be yourself and relax into that role. You know, if it doesn't come to you naturally to be sunshine and rainbows with everybody, then you don't have to be as a royal. Look at other members of the family. I mean, there are millions of pictures of the Princess Royal beaming and the late Queen beaming in pleasure, but there are also just as many of them really rather stony-faced and, dare I say, looking a little bit bored here and there, not in any rude manner, but you don't have to go about being this fountainhead of ingenuic energy. You can relax into your own nature, make it your own. And that is the difference between celebrity and royalty. And now the two should mix. Now the two should mix, in my opinion. And that is why I feel that the monarchy is in very safe hands with William and Catherine and Charles and Camilla, because they understand that. They understand the difference. And it will be instilled into young Georgie Porgy and co. And speaking of those exemplary royals, wasn't it wonderful to see a selection of them out and about this week, supporting the King and Queen Consort? And Queen Camilla was so delicious in that blue velvet gown, and we've seen her wore it. she's worn it a number of times. And I'm aware that not all of my fruit crumbles are fans of this look. I love the look. And I think it's a nice contrast because she's honed her signature look with most of her gowns and her outfits, I should say. But this makes a really nice change. It's something different, and I like the velvety texture of it. I even rather like the pockets. I think she carries it off. And she really is an example of someone for whom the beauty shines in her. You know, she was always disparaged for her looks, wasn't she, in comparison to Diana? Not that she ever complained about it for one moment, not one whisper of complaint, or poor me, ever, despite decades of disparagement over her looks. She wasn't especially photogenic. Those that know and met her and liked her said that she radiated a natural beauty, a natural earthy beauty, that she smiles with her eyes, and the warmth is there. Well, even that aside, she is an example of somebody who seems to bloom with the autumn and early winter of life. You know, there's beauty to be found in every season, and she certainly showcases it for those in the later seasons, doesn't she? She looked wonderful. Princess Royal looked gorgeous. I don't know if her wearing black edged with a little lighter colour, but I don't know if that denotes she's still somewhat in official mourning. I'm not quite sure about that because I know the official period has ended. But, a sombre black, but in a very chic number. That iconic hair, Edward looking oh so handsome, and of course the Duke of Gloucester. And my northern fruits are in luck. You're in luck, my ducks, my ducky dears, because next week the king is going to be in York. He's going to be in York, as well as Bradford, Leeds and Doncaster. And he's going to be unveiling a statue of the late Queen. So you're in luck. And so, on to the unsavoury subject of the Harkles' marriage. And I want to be perfectly clear here that all I can offer you are the whispers that I've heard, second-hand whispers, from my contacts that are based in that world, that Montecito world, and without wanting to give the game away, that are more connected to the creative side of the Harkles' life, whether directly or indirectly, and who are privy to certain whispers in those circles. That's all I can offer you, and I certainly am not rebuffing anybody else's information, whether found on Twitter or Facebook or forums, wherever these rumours are coming from. That is certainly not my intention. It's only to provide you what I can offer. And you can do with that information what you will. And some of you are going to be quite dejected or feel disappointed over the information that I'm going to provide. So that's a warning. And I'm just going to pick up, because I was, due to the time difference, I was in communication with various whisperers online rather than voice to voice, which is a bit of a shame, but it's enabled me to pick out and read off certain extracts. There's no separation of any kind, according to my whisperers. No separation. But not just that. The bonds are stronger than ever. And just for those who might be disappointed to hear that, I do want to take a moment to bear in mind the fact that I don't think that any of us should be rejoicing over a broken marriage under these circumstances, where it seems that there are two very happy children involved, with parents who, for better or worse, or whether we think they were brought together in some sick and twisted manner or not, seem to be happy with each other, and according to my sources, seem to be deliriously happy with each other. But I did manage to get a little bit of further information on that. I'm told that they go through phases of intensity dictated by distance and challenge. Whether or not they're in each other's company, whether they're in the same country or not, their neediness for each other in different ways for approval, waxes and wanes with the circumstances of the day, and also waxes and wanes with the intensity of the scrutiny upon them at the time, and also the criticism. This is when they come together at their most fiercest and strongest. Says, potential calamities always bind them together. Harry's strongest motivator is his wife's approval. That is his strongest motivator for everything, according to sources. Block your ears if you don't want to hear. Says they are flourishing. Once her ego learned how to live with inextinguishable criticism, because they thought that perhaps their behaviour or the remedies of support, such as an agency like Sunshine Sachs, once that sort of firefighting was determined as inextinguishable criticism, Meghan resolved to milk the negativity and make lemonade from the lemons. And you might remember that several months ago, back in early spring, I delivered some information to you from the same kind of whisperer that I'm relaying to you now, who said that there had been an understanding within the team and discussed within public relations teams that it was something that had to be accepted. Embrace it. Become a troll, if you like. I'm paraphrasing. Embrace the negativity that's coming your way, the criticism, because fending it off and fighting it all the time is not going to behoove them as much as going with it, which I think we see very much in the podcast archetypes. It's as if she knows that she's become a parody, a caricature of everything that people find irritating about the gal, and she's decided, well, if I can't shake that off, because there's always going to be an element of it, I'm going to amp it up for all it's worth. I'm going to give it to them and sock it to them and make hay. Or make, as my contact says, make lemonade from the lemons. Roll up to the lemonade stall in the Casa. That kind of thing. My contact does not believe that any of their PR strategies has ever been to plant any sort of fake stories or theories out in the media about themselves. Their strategy has always to be seen as honourable, has always been, if anything, to plant or provide good stories about all their forthcoming awards and connections and homemade parcels of goodies and cookies, that kind of thing. That they are not and never have worked to promote by manipulating and planting stories of a negative nature or a dramatic one. And I say that, by the way, in full knowledge that stories such as the ones they promoted on Oprah Winfrey are indeed dramatic, dark and manipulative. So I understand that, but the distinction is being drawn between that, which is dark stories emanating from their truth, to dark stories that are just entirely fabricated for deceptive means. There's a similarity between the two, but there's also a complete difference between the two. So there we have it on that subject. I know it's not as juicy as many people might want to hear, including me, but I can only offer you the truth as I'm able to find it. And I say this understanding that my contact is not Doria, my contact there is not Lilibet Mountbatten, they aren't my whisperers, so I can only tell you what I've found, and if what these people on Twitter or forums are saying about the separation prove to be correct, well, I have to sack my whisperers, won't I, my dear? But that is what I've been told, and I actually trust the sources that I've heard this from. Thank you so much for joining me today, my darlings, for a little gentle chit-chat. I very much appreciate your company, and I hope you have a lovely evening. Wasn't it splendid to see Catherine and William? I just feel so much better when they're out and about, and we can admire them and see the goodwill that they promote everywhere they go. A nice bit of good feeling. Some calm during the storm. I love it. If you'd like to treat me to a coffee or a slice of cake, my tip jar remains in the description box below. Or leave me a juicy comment or blow me a kiss. I'll catch up with you again soon. Be good, but not too good. And stay royal at all times. Toodle pip.